Good morning, everyone. I'd like to call the Operations Committee for Tuesday, September 14th for the County of Renfrew to order. And before we move on, I would like to remind everyone as we gather this morning, I would like to acknowledge on behalf of committee and our communities that we are meeting on the traditional territory of the Algonquin people. We would like to thank the Algonquin people and express our respect and support for their rich history, and we are extremely grateful for their many and continued displays of friendship. We also thank all the generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years. Has roll call been taken?
Yes, and we have one.
Thank you, Evelyn. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest in the general nature thereof? Seeing none, I need an adoption of the minutes for the August 10th meeting. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Bennett, Councillor Keller. Any questions or concerns about the August 10th minutes? Seeing none, all in favor of the minutes as presented? It's carried. Thank you. There's no delegations. We're into the Public Works and Engineering Department report. Mr. Perkins, please.
Good morning, committee, and thank you, Chair, and through you too, committee. This is our September report for our department here. So under information, item 1, Township of Adamston Bromley Public Works Assistant. So we've entered into a service agreement with the town of Adamston Bromley. I'm actually right now working 1 to 2 days a week down there, and I'm because their public works superintendent had a very bad motorcycle accident earlier this summer, and also their clerk has left. So I'm just down there hoping to teach them some computer skills, put together reports, and just help out with their public works group. So far it's been excellent opportunity to work with a lower tier, and very interesting to see how a lower tier works. So this is for an 8-week secondment. So hopefully after 8 weeks, they'll either have a decision made if they're bringing in a temporary super or if they're going to hire a new super. But apparently at that time they should have a new CAO. So they're going to a CAO model. So again, very interesting. Item 2, of course, is your treasurer's report, which is attached for your review on appendix 1. Item 3 is the monthly project status report, and that's attached as appendix 2. And item 4 is the capital variance program report, sorry, and you will notice that we've added an additional column that now shows the money that we plan to carry in the next year due to projects not getting done this year. So I'm sure that could generate some chats. So with that, Chair, I'll leave it there before we go to bylaws, if that's okay.
Thank you. Any questions or concerns on item 1, Township of Bromley? Mr. Morrow, please.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to let committee know and reinforce that this is consistent with our user fee bylaw. Jeff will speak a little bit more about this at Finance and Admin this week as well, where he will be overviewing the structure to the new HR committee. So committee's aware, HR is also playing a role supporting Adamston Bromley in the recruitment process and dealing with some challenges they're facing all at the same time. So I just wanted to make committee aware of that. So temporary support, but much needed. So I'm glad Mr. Perkins was able to do that. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Hunt, please.
Thank you. Through you to probably to Paul. I'm very happy, that Leah's stepping up to help the lower tier on, in this predicament. I'm wondering if we could consider, and this is something that came out in our leg survey, is we have a bunch of lower tier municipalities without, they cannot afford a public works director. And so we're either a foreman or superintendents, but we're kind of missing that top link. And like I say, we can't afford it on our own. And at this point, the leg group hasn't got together to come up with maybe hiring someone and sharing it. But is this something that we could consider at the county level and it be paid for, you know, at the lower tier level, but have a person like a tailor or somebody like that that's accessible to the townships and perhaps fully paid for by the townships, but working out of the county, so they're accessible to any of the municipalities that do not have a director.
And I'll start with the answer, and then I'll turn it over to Mr. Foss, Chair, if that's acceptable.
Thank you.
So I think all these arrangements are something that we would entertain. We would need to bring those back to the Finance and Admin Committee for approval, and we would need something from your leg group with a bit of an outline. And then we would look for direction from Finance and Admin to sort that out as to what that would look like. With respect to the payment and the costing, I will turn that over to Mr. Foss because he is the expert in terms of our user fee bylaw.
Mr. Foss, please.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning to Operations Committee. So the request, I guess, from Councillor Hunt, or the issue at hand, really sort of mirrors very closely the proposal that we brought forward to Council earlier this year for for our own Human Resources Department. And so as we were kind of building or rebuilding that HR team, we had an opportunity to look at recruiting one additional human resources coordinator. And that coordinator was recruited specifically to help support our lower tier municipalities. So similar to the Public Works Director Challenge, many municipalities would have a very difficult time being able to support a full-time HR person on your staff. However, sharing one amongst all 70 municipalities makes good economic sense. And so we move forward with that proposal for a human resource coordinator. And actually, as Paul mentioned at our meeting on Thursday, we have a bit of a discussion that we will introduce that team and those people and those HR services so that all of County Council will be aware of the fact that we are really ready to launch and ready to support, you know, the many HR related issues that come up seemingly on a fairly regular basis. So we have a model in place. We do have a user fee bylaw that's, you know, it's required under the Act, and we've had one in place for many, many years. And that user fee bylaw suggests the hourly billing rate that should be used for different types or groups of employees. So right from administrative support to technical support to having someone like Lee in his role supporting one of our municipalities in a kind of a temporary situation like we have in Admiston Bromley going on right now. And so the model is there. The council approval for you know, kind of compensation, if you will, is already set. So I think this would be certainly something that we could consider as an organization. You know, if there was a demand for it by our local municipalities. So perhaps, Chair, I just leave it at that.
Mr. Morrow, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Through you to Councillor Hunt. I would just say though, just to clarify, so the next step would have to be some type of proposal from the leg group to the county, which we would bring back to F&A. And once we receive that, we would look for authorization from elected officials at the staff level to have that conversation with the leg group to sketch out what the role of that individual would be. So we're all in agreement as to what we could do to support the local municipalities. I think it's a fantastic idea. It may not be exactly like the HR program, but I think that there is an opportunity here to look at support, whether it's coordination of all the local roads programs or that within the leg. You know, I know Lee's already taking on the role of having, Lee, are you at quarterly meetings with the road supervisors at this point?
Not yet, but that's once the COVID is straightened away. We had one at the very beginning of COVID, or prior to the beginning of COVID, but I'm really looking forward to getting that back on track.
So there's an opportunity to enhance those types of activities as well, plus more on the ground work. So I will leave it at that, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Hunt, please.
Thank you for that. Very encouraging to hear that. Perhaps, Paul, I could speak with you more on this because in our leg group, Armprior and Renfrew already have directors, so they're not interested in it. But I have talked with some other municipalities that are not part of the leg that probably would be interested in it. So maybe instead of it coming from the leg group, there might be a different method to encompass all lower tier municipalities with interest. So maybe I could speak to you offline on that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Item 1. Item 2, the treasurer's report. Item 3, the monthly project status report. Item 4, the capital program variance report. Councillor Hunt, please.
Yeah, thank you. On the variance report, I see that you've added, Mr. Fawcett probably added a line to show the carryover, and that certainly helps me, when I'm looking at it. So when we look at that report now, I do see some pretty big swings in some of the completed projects, and I wonder if we should be considering some kind of an exception on reports on items that are running, like a 25 or 50% variance to budget, or perhaps at county council that Mr. Perkins could speak to some of those ones that have, dramatic savings or going over budget, in a big way. Just so that we get a little bit of an understanding. And I appreciate that we're now doing more engineering work before, so that I presume will get better in the future. But maybe, as we get more of the projects finished, that Lee could give us some kind of an update on the ones with big variances.
Mr. Perkins, please.
Thank you, Chair, and through you to committee and to Councillor Hunt. Actually, no troubles at all. I hate to sound like a broken record, but it's the same story, right? It's the projects that we're over on are our bridges again, and I believe Taylor will speak to it a little bit in his report later on, that they're trying their best, they're endeavoring to improve. How's that? And the ones that were under budget on, of course, is we were getting really good prices in the spring on our roads works. And but now with that said, the asphalt index has increased by 16% over the summer. So, and again, it's a bell curve. So as they complete up at the end of the season, we'll see where it all lies. But yeah, there's no trouble to explain them individually if you like, or if you want to. Again, I know it's a broken record, but that's the rationale.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? 1 through 4. Seeing none, we'll move on to bylaws. Mr. Perkins, please.
Do you want to, I'll move her in a seconder to put it on the floor?
My apologies. Please.
I'm learning.
Martin Robinson, Councillor Lynch. Mr. Perkins, please.
Thank you, Chair, and through you to committee. So this is a speed limit bylaw, and of course it meets with our strategic plan goals, number 1. So the recommendation here is that the Operations Committee recommend that County Council approve the changes to a speed limit bylaw as requested by the Township of Bonita Valley. And further, that a bylaw to authorize speed limits on county roads be passed, and further that this change to the bylaw be repealed upon completion of the road work on this portion of County Road 512. And the background is there for you to read through. The Township of Bonita Valley sent us an email, or a letter that they are concerned with safety issues along that section. With that said, we have no documented accidents along that section. We did have accidents in the previous section that was straightened and completed last year, but they feel that on that new section that there are safety concerns. So this was an opportunity to lower speed limit on that. But again, once the road is completed, we intend to return it back to the 80 km/h speed limit.
Thank you. Questions or comments? Warden Robinson, please.
Thank you very much, Chair Peckett, and my apologies for being late to the meeting this morning. Through you to Director Perkins, I just want to ensure that Bonita Valley is aware that it is temporary, so that they're not shocked when it goes back up to 80 once the road work is completed.
Mr. Perkins, please.
Thank you, Chair, and through you to the Warden. After this meeting, I will inform Ms. Gilchrist and Mayor Murphy of committee's decision anyways. So that was the plan.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments on this bylaw? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Item 6, policy PW 16, renaming of county roads. A mover and seconder, please. Councillor Keller, Councillor Bennett. Mr. Perkins.
Thank you, Chair, and through you again to committee. So this is, as Chair said, PW 16, renaming of county roads. And the recommendation here is that the Operations Committee recommend that County Council pass a bylaw to adopt policy PW 16, renaming of county roads. And the background is there for you. You will recall that we tabled it at our last meeting. And my personal thanks to Warden Robinson for her input and help on this one. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Could perhaps, Warden, could you just remind or inform of the committee of the comments to Mr. Perkins in regards to this?
I will try, Chair, because I don't have them in front of me. I do appreciate that the committee indulged me last month to table this. There were some items in there at the time that I thought really were local lower tier municipalities' responsibility, like informing the residents of a road and asking them how they felt about renaming the road. Those were issues that I thought really had to be dealt in the lower level. And then the lower municipality then could come to a decision. And if they in fact wanted the name changed, and they would come and bring it towards or forward to County Council. Sorry. So I just found it was a little bit convoluted. I wasn't clear. I thought that we had to be very sure that the policy around renaming the road, what was in our policy, just had to do with our responsibilities and not the lower tiers. I don't know if that's helpful at all. I could have to go back in my notes.
Thank you, Warden. That jogs my memory for your conversation in the past. I appreciate that. Just a question, Mr. Perkins, if there's a possibility of renaming a county road, is that just going to be a number change or an actual name change? And I'll give you an example. County Road 1 is River Road. So the county, would there ever be a time when they'd want to change the name of River Road, or would they ever want to change the number of River Road from 1 to 10 or some other number?
Thank you, Chair, and through you to you. No, the county road numbering system would in my humble opinion, would never change, but the road name could potentially change if a lower tier municipality comes forward with a resolution. Some of the issues that we will have as a county when that happens is we have roads that run through multiple jurisdictions. So a road may, and with that said, that already happens in places, for example, McNabb Brayside, when Daniel Street turns into White Lake Road, right? So it's at an intersection, it changes municipalities and the road name changes. So, but no, I don't think the county road numbering inventory would ever change that I know of. So I can't see a reason why we need to change the number, but the name change may be, you know, specific to an individual, a hero or whatever in our local communities. But again, back to what Warden Robinson was saying, there was some discrepancies in how we were going to go about notifying people and stuff. And thanks to the warden, again, it would be on the lower tier to make sure that they do all the background work before they brought us a resolution. So.
Thank you. What I was sort of circling around to get is that it's actually up to the lower tier to make the decision whether the road is going to have names change or not. Am I correct?
That's correct. Yeah. The numbering system would stay the same, but the name change would be direct from the lower tier.
Thank you. So I think I mentioned this before. As a counselor in the town of Renfrew, we had that come up for a certain road, and there was a tremendous amount of pushback from the residents of the road because of all the paperwork that they would have to go through in order to change their health card, their driver's license, mailing addresses and everything. So I'm quite happy that it'll be the decision of the lower tier municipalities whether they change a road name or street name or not. So thank you for that. Anything else on this resolution or recommendation, Rod? Warden Robinson.
Thank you, Chair. And I'm going to throw a wrench into this because I'm just listening to you here and I'm thinking, I don't think anywhere in the policy it indicates that if the county was planning to, on its own, makes its own decision to rename a road, what is the process for the county to go through? And does it have to seek the approval of the lower tier municipality in which the road is located? I'm just flipping it around. Should we, you know?
Mr. Perkins, please.
Thank you, Chair, and back to you, Madam Warden. Actually, if you would like, we can bring back a second policy that which is exactly what the original policy was, right? Which would then invoke the county to go forward, right? But again, I believe that the first consultation will always be a lower municipality, right? I would hope.
Okay.
Warden Robinson.
I would certainly expect that as well. If the county of Renfrew decide to rename a road a municipality before they did anything about contacting residents or anything like that, that they would have to have the approval of the lower tier municipality to go forward. I mean, even bringing that up at a meeting, you would have residents up in arms, I have to tell you. So I know I saw Mr. Morrow, he probably wishes I hadn't said anything, but I'm sorry. So I just wonder what the process would be. I can't imagine county ever doing that, but who knows, right?
Exactly right, Warden. Thank you very much for that wrench. Mr. Morrow had his hand up.
I just was going, Chair, if I may, I was just going to suggest a motion to table this policy till the next meeting and staff bring it back with some additional changes.
Warden Robinson.
I'll move to table the policy once again.
Do we have a seconder? Councillor Lynch. My apologies. All those in favor? Councillor Lynch was the seconder.
Yes, I had a comment, Chair.
Comment first, okay.
I think this is as a result of one of our subdivisions here in Armpire where we'll call the Smith Street went into Black Street. And now we're trying to make Smith the entire street, and the people are mutinying on the Black Street to say, wait a minute, we've already got our health cards, all the good stuff. But that came from the county, from what I understand, that when this was submitted, the county picked up, hey, you've screwed up. And of course, it was months later after the subdivision was done. And now we've left it as it is. So I think this is where it came from. Just a comment. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any other comments? Seeing none, all in favor of the recommendation? It's carried. Thank you.
And thank you, Chair, through you as a committee. That concludes my report, and we'll move on when you're ready.
Mr. Hanrath, please.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Chair. Through you to committee, I present the Infrastructure Division report. Item number 1 is some information items with updates on our projects that are ongoing. Construction for replacement of C058 Constant Creek Culverts is near completion, with only guide rail and paving still needed to be done. The design for this project was done internally by our infrastructure coordinator, Brett Kidd, and construction was completed by the county's day labor forces, overseen by our construction supervisor, Daryl Spolsky. There are photos included in the appendices from this construction project, but if it's okay, I have some pictures of the finished product, if I could share my screen. So here we have the twin box culverts installed. Again, still waiting on guide rail and paving. And from the other end. Item B under project updates is construction for replacement of county structure C099 Colton Creek Bridge, which is ongoing and anticipated to be completed by October 1st, 2021, depending on weather conditions. Rehabilitation of C201 Brooms Creek Culvert and reconstruction of the dam that's located directly downstream has been delayed due to the length of time taken to receive comments from stakeholders on the environmental assessment. Detailed design for this one will be undertaken once feedback has been received from DFO and public consultation on the project has been completed. Rehabilitation of C252 Vanderploes Culvert is scheduled to start September 20th, 2021, and is anticipated to take about 4 weeks. Rehabilitation of B002 Bonisher River Bridge has been delayed as the contractor and design consultant work together to attain the best concrete mix design for the exposed concrete deck. The mix design for the test slab, which was poured earlier this summer, met all of the specification requirements, but when tested, it failed the shrinkage requirements. Some minor changes and checks are required in order to ensure the mix design for the overlay does not shrink a great deal and cause premature cracking. Our staff are monitoring the schedule and may postpone construction for this project to next spring should there become a high potential for cold weather, as we don't want to pour the overlay if it's below 5 degrees Celsius. The design and environmental assessment for the rehabilitation of B057 Mount St. Patrick Bridge has been awarded to HP Engineering. HP Engineering will evaluate a number of alternatives during preliminary design, including superstructure replacement, like-for-like replacement, and other full replacement alternatives. I'll pause here to answer any questions committee may have regarding the information items presented.
Thank you. We'll go back to item 1, and I want to, on behalf of committee, express thanks to the day labor crew. That looks like a fantastic job that they did on that culvert, and we certainly appreciate their efforts in getting that done, and it looks great. Any comments on item 1, the updates? Councillor Hunt, please.
Thank you, Chair. Through you to Taylor. I just want to congratulate the Darrell and his crew on a great job that they did. and it went, very smooth, and I think may have gone a week over, but I know they ran into some significant soil problems there. So great job. I had one question. Is that the span? I know there's 2 individual culverts. Do they come in sections? And how many sections would it be if they do?
Yes, so they came in individual sections. Sorry, Chair, through you to Councillor Hunt. They came in individual sections. Each section is 1.8 meters long. And I would have to double check my notes, but I believe we had in and around 18 sections, but I would have to double check.
Okay, thank you.
And if I may, Chair, through you to committee, I'm sharing my screen here. This is the, I just wanted to just say how proud and how pleased we are, Darrell and his crew. And as you can see, each one of these blocks is a section, and they were all put in by a very, very large crane. And one of Darrell's crew actually had a drone, so he took this photo for us. So you can actually see what's involved. They had to divert a river and then build dams on both sides of this thing to get it in place. And it was a large job. And just to share with committee, in my 25 years of working in public works, I've never seen a public works crew that could do what Darrell and his crew have done here. So unfortunately for us, we don't have an apples to apples comparison with a contractor, but I am confident saying that this day labor crew is saving quite a bit of money for the county. And also, again, thanks to Brett Kidd for doing the in-house design on this, and Taylor for overseeing the whole thing. This is a massive project. This is something that you would not normally see a public works crew do. So again, and it's actually 13 sections each. So 26 sections were lowered into place. The ends are different, but the interior is all put together. So it's a huge job. And again, our thanks to Darrell and his crew, and Taylor and Brett.
Councillor Hunt.
Thank you. Lee, I wonder if you would be able to share that photo with me so that I can bring it to our council meeting and show the public, the work that was done in this project.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, pride and workmanship. I mean, this is one of the guys that did this job, brought his own drone to work to take a picture. So, I mean, the pride is there for sure. But yeah, I'll forward it on to you as soon as we're done.
Thank you.
Councillor Lynch, please.
Thank you, Chair. Again, congrats to the crew. I'm wondering if, through you, Chair, to Taylor, on our different projects that we're doing at the end of the product, can you take a picture of it? I never got to the Creek Bridge to see what you've done in the embankments, but once I see the visual, I can say, that's why it cost $1 million. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, through you to Councillor Lynch. Yes, we can take some before and after pictures on each of our projects and give an update on each one with the update on the budget as well.
Well, thank you for that. Is there anything else on 1A? One B, the Colton Creek Bridge. One C, Brooms Creek Culvert. One B, Batter Plows Culvert. One E, Bonnechere River Bridge. I'm glad to see that we caught the defect in the concrete early this time, and want to make sure that that's done correctly so that we don't have the same problem that we're having now. F, Mount St. Patrick Bridge, Councillor Hunt, please.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Through you to either Lee or Taylor. With the Mount St. Patrick Bridge, that bridge was originally built in 1924, and I know that there was some repairs done to it, I think by the township before it was taken over by the county, but it has had a substantial life. And I compare that to the bridge that I think it's slated to be done in 2025 or something like that at Ferguson Lake. So just down from the job that you did this year. Mount St. Patrick Bridge is in at 600,000, and the Lessard Bridge that was put in by the county maybe 10 or 12 years ago, it's at a $1.8 million cost. And I was just trying to understand, the span is very similar, although originally that was the bridge at Ferguson Lake was a 2-lane bridge. And is the expense so much different because it's going back to a 2-lane bridge, or and if you need to do some research on that, we can take it up later. But I was just trying to understand, for informing my council on why there would be such a variance in the two projects, with a similar width.
Mr. Hanrath, please.
Through you, Chair, to Councillor Hunt. I believe the Ferguson Lake Bridge is for a full replacement, including ripping out the abutments and replacing with a 2-lane structure. I'll double check the EA that was completed there just to confirm though.
Okay.
Okay, Councillor Hunt.
Thank you for that. So are we suggesting then that at the Mount St. Patrick Bridge, the abutments would be stay?
Chair, through you to Councillor Hunt, the consultant is going to core the abutments to confirm whether or not they can withstand continued use with a superstructure replacement. If they can't withstand that, then they would be replaced as well.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Morrow, please.
Come on, there we go. Got it to work. Thank you, Chair. Through you to Taylor. Taylor, just a couple things on this one. So, this is a very similar challenge with respect to the Herds Creek Bridge, I believe, in terms of where we are with abutments. So I think your report speaks to the engineers going and doing the assessment. And then based on the bridge guidelines, we'll make a determination what type of structure goes in, correct? And then at that point, once we have the plans, what is the conversation we're going to have with the local municipality on it?
So we've reached out to the local municipality just to let them know that the design is underway and that there's going to be some investigations happening. Once we have the preliminary design report back, regardless of the findings, we will bring them forward to the municipality for discussion there as well.
Thank you. Mr. Perkins, please.
Yes, thank you, Chair. And through you, just to carry on with Taylor, one of mine and Taylor's goals here is to try to get the engineering for next year's projects done earlier. So over the last few years, of course, the sign curve has been lagging. So Taylor and Brett and Justin Shower are working hard to so we can actually sit down with the public works groups late in the fall to explain to them what our plan is for next year. And that's hopefully much better communication going forward. But it's taken a lot of work because basically Brett has got to try to get 2 years put into one for this year. So over the next couple of years, we hope to get to that level of service for the lower tiers.
I like that. Mr. Morrow, please.
Thank you, Chair. And I just want to confirm, Lee, that should hopefully get us closer in terms of our budgeting on these projects as well, correct?
Mr. Perkins.
Thank you, Chair, and through you. That is our goal, because what's been occurring is the engineering is coming in late. So usually in April month and then we come to committee and tell you guys that, sorry, we had 600,000 budgeted, but our consultant said we need 1.1 million. So our goal is to try to get this done as early as possible so we can actually put it in the budget. So there's I won't say no surprises, less surprises in the following year for construction. So it's just a change. It's not really a change in process. It's just making it more efficient and hopefully be able to share this information sooner than again, having the surprisers, as Councillor Hunt pointed out, in September month when we have overages on our bridges and stuff. So we're working. It is a goal. It's a goal of me and Taylor. So we're unfortunately Brett Kidd is the gentleman who's looking after our asset management plan. So we've been on him quite a bit. So and our thanks to him too for doing what he's doing. So, but hopefully going forward we'll be able to inform lower tier much better, and we'll actually keep committee and council better apprised. That's our goal.
Thank you. Really appreciate the initiative by staff for moving this forward. It's I've always been one to want to have things done in advance of the year that they're going, or all the engineering done in advance, ready to go first thing in the new year to get the tenders out. So thank you very much for moving that forward. Anything else on? Saying nothing and none. Move on to the recommendation asset management plan updates. Mr. Hanra.
Chairs, this is a resolution. Do we need a mover and seconder?
Yes, sorry. You'd think I'd learn after 14 years of. Mover and seconder, please, for item 2 on the resolutions. Councillor Hunt, Councillor Lynch. Now, Mr. Hanra, please.
Thank you, Chair. Through you to committee, the recommendation here is that the Operations Committee approve the recommended updates to the 10-year capital asset management plans for roads, bridges, and culverts. There is a background there, but I'll give a quick summary. The updated plans are included in the appendices for committee's review, with all changes highlighted in yellow. As committee is aware, there are 4 projects projected to have a carryover from this year in the amount of approximately $3 million. Some of these projects have been pushed to next year, while a few have been pushed to 2023. As these projects are anticipated to require a greater budget than was allocated this year, the projected carryover is not sufficient to increase our budget target over the next 2 years to cover the anticipated costs. Because of this, our recommended updated plan shows a requesting of a significantly higher budget in 2022 and 2023 than our original target, even with the target for 2022 increased with the $3 million in carryover. The recommended changes will require approval in the budget workshops in January still. I'll pause here to ask if there are any questions about this item.
Thank you. Questions, comments? Warden Robinson and then Councillor Hunt.
Thank you very much, Chair. Just so when I'm reading all of this, I just want to be clear. So is this a heads up that operations is going to be looking at more than a 2.5% increase in the budget? Is that what you're telling me?
Through you, Chair, to Warden Robinson. Correct, Warden Robinson. We're projecting a significant amount higher than our targets over the next 2 years.
Councillor Hunt, then Mr. Morrow.
Perhaps I'll defer my question because it's not in the same line, and I think Mr. Morrow is going to be responding to the warden.
Thank you. Mr. Morrow, please.
Thank you, Chair. So when it comes to capital, it should not affect the 2.5%, but I will ask Mr. Foss to weigh in, because I think the challenge here is we set targets in our 10-year plan, and because of the carryover, it will increase. But I'm going to look to Mr. Foss to clarify this, because I don't anticipate it will have an impact. But Jeff?
Thank you, Paul, and through you, Chair, to committee. So yeah, statement's correct. I mean, we're setting a levy target in our long-term financial plan at 3% and trying to keep all of our operating expenses, less than that. And the plan requires a cap of no more than 2.5%. So capital is outside of those restrictions because, of course, we have a number of financing options for our capital, including reserves or debt financing. The challenge we may run into is that if you look at page 33 of the report, which contains the summary, you'll note that the first 3 years of this plan put us at almost $6 million over our original targets. and we only have a $3 million surplus that's going to be unspent in 2021. So there will be a $3 million pressure on our 10-year capital plan because of this program that's before you today. Now, I'm not in a position really to let you know whether or not we can afford that because the request of your committee to have a look at your 10-year plans at this monthly meeting are in advance of all of the other departments submitting their 10-year plans to the finance department. So I don't have a consolidated picture as yet, but you know, it's obvious that we have at least a $3 million pressure put on our financing plan over the next 3 years. And so it'll be our job then to consolidate and to see, you know, how we can finance some of these projects as we prepare for the budget workshop in January. So thank you for that, Chair.
Thank you. Does that answer your question, Mr. Councillor Hunt?
No, I'll go ahead with my question then. It's I see in the 10-year plan that Calabogie Road, Highway 508 from Mill Street to Lanark is slated to be done in 22, and we're very happy about that because, as I mentioned at a previous council meeting, we had substantial flooding to one of our buildings, and I think it'll be corrected by the ditching and culverts. That's Lee and I had talked about this before, so I think it'll be corrected, you know, with this project. But because Highway 508 Calabogie Road kind of goes through the heart of our little village, in 2022, we're doing 1.9 kilometers, so there'll be major construction on a very, very busy chunk of road. And then the following year, we're doing $1.4 million to take us from Mill Street to County Road 34, Norton Road. And I'm just wondering, you know, if there's any way that those two projects could be put together and that we have 1 year of disruption doing the 3.6 or 7 kilometers of road. And I appreciate that it would be moving $600,000, you know, into 2022, but perhaps another project within the township could be considered being delayed by a year in order to facilitate that. So I'm respectfully asking Taylor if you would take a look at that and see if something like that could be done in order to facilitate the community and not have us go through 2 years of construction in the heart of our village.
Thank you. And sure that Mr. Van Rath could look at that and get back to committee and yourself on that. And it's also something that could be looked at in the upcoming 2022 budget, in my opinion. Mr. Morrow, please.
Thank you, Chair. Through you to committee, and this may factor into part of the answer, but going back to the budget question and the conversation we're having, my concern and what I want to alert committee to is that, you know, the projects that have got pushed off still need to get done. And I'm now getting nervous about a capacity issue with the amount of projects we have on the docket for 2022, as well as what needs to get done. So that's my caution to committee, is that we need to be able to have enough oversight on these projects. And I think we're going to come up against a capacity issue. So to a certain degree, it may factor into the answer or the question Councillor Hunt raised with respect to the combination of the two. So that will be a factor in terms of how we manage the jobs as well, whether or not we have the ability to do that and to be able to address the concern that you raised as well, Councillor Hunt. So again, I'm hopeful that Taylor can have a look at those things, but that will be a factor in terms of staffing resources and our ability to provide oversight to the contracts or have our day labor crew do the work. I just think we're now coming up against it. So I will leave it at that, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Lynch.
Thank you, Chair. To Brian and to Paul, what happens in our municipality, i.e. Brian's got the main road ×2 over 2 years. Can we change a road that we have in 2027 to replace that one with the current one? So it doesn't affect the capacity of what we're doing. It's just a change of date within our own community, not affecting the whole county. Thanks.
Mr. Morrow, please.
The danger there is that ultimately, if we continue to do that for every municipality, it will disrupt our asset management plan. So the asset management is clear in terms of how we prioritize, in terms of road condition, road bed condition, traffic volumes. So all that goes into the process of defining the greatest need and priority for roads. So that is a component of it. It helps us at the staff level, to be frank, to keep some of the politics out of it as well in terms of who gets what, because we try to use the facts and the data to help us establish those priorities. So it gives us clear direction on where to go. Where it makes sense in terms of combining projects and there's efficiencies and savings, and we can provide that rationale that maybe we didn't think of before, yeah, absolutely, we can make those accommodations, but we need to not deviate too far away from the original rationale as to why these projects were prioritized the way they were. So I'll leave it at that. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Perkins, please.
Thank you, Chair, and through you to CAO Morrow. Do we desire a resolution from lower tier council if we want to do that? You know, start moving things in the.
I think let's let Taylor investigate this to see if it fits. I think the danger there, Chair, if I may, is that we'll get a whole bunch of resolutions from local municipalities now that want their road prioritized differently. So my caution is we need at the staff level, we will take Councillor Hunt's request under advisement, and we will see where it fits into the asset management plan. And if we're able to find an efficiency because of how the project would roll out and provide appropriate rationale as to how it would fit into our prioritization, absolutely, then we should be making those changes. But we need to make sure that we follow our internal process first. Thank you.
Thank you. I've never been one to want to change how the asset management plan works and which roads are and bridges and everything are to be done according to the plan. The only option I can see to changing anything like that would be an increase in funding, as long as there is the capacity from the county to be able to handle the extra workload to add on a project. My opinion. Thank you. Anything else on this recommendation? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. On to item 3, bylaws. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Keller. Councillor Hunt. Mr. Hanrath, please.
Thank you, Chair. Through you to committee. The recommendation here is that the Operations Committee recommend that County Council pass bylaw to acquire Part 1 on Plan 49R19818 from Andre Bird in the amount of $1,500, and further that Part 1 on Plan 49R19818 be dedicated as part of the public highway upon registration of the transfer documents. The background is there for committee's review as well.
Thank you. Questions or comments on this bylaw? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Item 4, County Road 66, road widening, mover and seconder, please. Councillor Lynch. Councillor Hunt. Mr. Hanrath, please.
Thank you, Chair. Through you to committee, the recommendation here is that the Operations Committee recommend that County Council pass a bylaw to acquire parts 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 on Plan 49R 19721 from Michael Marak, Anthony Marak, Catherine Blowski, and the estate of Peter Marak for the amount of $3,108.50. And further, that parts 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 on Plan 49R 19721 be dedicated as part of the public highway upon registration of the transfer documents. The background is there for committee's review on this one as well.
Thank you. Questions or comments? No. All in favor of the recommendation? Carried. Thank you. Item 5, County Road 66. Well-known South Road widening. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Keller. Councillor Hunt. Questions, comments? No. Mr. Hanrath, please.
Thank you, Chair. Through you to committee, the recommendation is that the Operations Committee recommend that a bylaw be passed to acquire Part 3 on Plan 49R 19721 from Catherine and Michael Blowski for the amount of $500. And further, that Part 3 on Plan 49R 19721 be dedicated as part of the public highway upon registration of the transfer documents. The background is there.
Thank you. I wondered what happened to Part 3. Questions, comments? All in favor of the recommendation? Carried. Thank you. Item 6, installation of pedestrian crossings. Mover and seconder, please. I'll move it. Seconded by Councillor Lynch. Mr. Hanrath, please.
Thank you, Chair. Through you to committee, the recommendation is that the Operations Committee recommend County Council pass 3 separate bylaws designating the following locations as pedestrian crossings: County Road 8, Main Street at Crawford Street, County Road 12, Westmeath Road at Gray Street, and County Road 21, Beachburg Road at Cameron Street. The background is there for committee review as well.
Questions or comments? All in favor of the recommendation? I'm sorry, Mr. Perkins, I comment first.
Yes, it's my apologies. Thank you, Chair, and through you to committee. We did receive a little bit of bad press on these crossings because we weren't fast enough in obviously getting them in before the school year. But unfortunately, it was a process issue. So committee understands. We certainly didn't want to stand in the way of any safety for children and stuff. But we did need the bylaw approved by County Council before we could do the implementation. So I did see some bad press on this, but it was a process thing. It wasn't a staff issue or a council or committee issue. It was just the timing. So when they requested it and when we could move it through committee through the council. So thank you for looking after this for us today.
Thank you. Anything else? All in favor of the recommendation? Carried. Thank you. It's the end of your report, Mr. Hanrath.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah.
Thank you. And then we'll move on to Mr. Baldock, please.
Thank you and good morning, Chair Peckett. Present the Operations Division report. Item number 1 under information is roadside mowing. The roadside mowing program is well underway. We've mowed all the roads once at least, and we're touching up some other areas that require some extra work for visibility. Number 2 is winter operations, winter sand. All the contracts for the winter sand have been tendered, and we anticipate that all the sand should be in the domes by October 1st. Item number 3 is quotations and tenders. We had another busy month. We put out another 6 RFPs and quotations and tenders. The summary of the tenders are that we put out in August are in Appendix OP1. And in all cases, the procurements have followed the processes set out in Corporate Policy GAO1. Item number 4 is the disposal of surplus items. We're happy to say we put together quite the list of surplus items. It was quite the backlog. So that list has been distributed to the municipalities for them to take a look at. And the list should be, I believe, back at the end of this month. And we should have an update next month on if any of the municipalities are interested in procuring some of the surplus assets that the county has. And it goes through that process first prior to going to public auction. So item number 5 is the shouldering program. We've been engaging in the shoulder program over the last 2 years to improve the condition of the shoulders, and the work this year is anticipated to be completed by October 1st as well. And the item number 6, the small culvert program. Again, we started this program a few years ago. We've been inspecting and adding to the culvert inventory, and we're building a program, capital program to deal with some of these, because some of these small culverts are actually quite expensive to replace. They're very deep in some of the roads, so they'll end up being brought forward as a capital program at some point. So just to give you an update on that, the updates should be completed by the end of October, and we're hoping to look at putting together a program hopefully next year. And if anybody has any questions on any of those items, I'd be pleased to answer.
Thank you. Go back to item 1, roadside mowing. Item 2, winter operations. Don't know whether you heard on the weather report this morning. There's areas in Canada that are expecting frost and wet snow already. So item 3, quotations and tenders. Item 4, disposal of surplus items. Councillor Lynch.
Thank you, Chair. To Richard, could you send us a copy of the equipment that you've sent out to the municipalities?
Mr. Bullock.
Packet to Councillor Lynch. We have sent out the list to all of the townships, municipalities in the county, so you should have received that list.
Maybe the municipality, but hasn't passed it on to us yet as a councillor.
See Paul with his hand up that he might be able to shed some light on that.
Tomorrow, please.
Thank you, Chair. Through you to Mr. Bolduc. Richard, if you could flip Rose that note that went out to all the local municipalities, Rose could forward it to all members of county council so they're aware.
Certainly. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anything else on 4? Item 5, shouldering program. Item 6, small culvert program. I just make a comment on the tenders. Boy, there's an extreme from a low tender to a very high, like sometimes double from one end to the other of the spectrum, and we're trying to get our budget and under control a little bit better, but I don't know how you possibly can when we're getting tenders coming in with that extreme of change from low to high. It's going to be a difficult time coming up. So there's nothing else on Mr. Perkins, please.
Thank you, Chair, and through you to committee. So what we've been noticing is at the end of the season, we get these vast streams, right? Because a number of the proponents are literally just throwing us a number. So I don't think there's much effort put into their tender, but that's just an observation from my 3 seasons now.
Thank you. Nothing else on that operations division report. I've asked for a mover and seconder for the report as a whole. Councillor Hunt, Warden Robinson, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Is there any new business? Mr. Perkins, please.
Thank you, Chair, and through you to committee. Committee may have noticed that our cost sharing development charges or how we're dealing with growth policy never came forward this month. We as staff have we only received 2 responses, and we are thankful to the council members who sent that to us. So what we've done now is myself, the CAO, and the treasurer are actually going to have a meeting and hopefully bring it back to before you guys in October. So if anyone was wondering where that went, that was the gist of it so far. But we're looking forward to bringing a recommendation for a growth policy, be it whichever one you guys choose. But we're looking forward to bringing it forward in October. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else under new business? There is no closed meeting. Date of the next operations committee, October the 12th. County Council, Wednesday, September 29th, will be a Zoom meeting. If there's nothing else, I'll ask for a mover and seconder to adjourn. Councillor Bennett, Warden Robinson, all in favor? That's carried. Thanks very much. Appreciate it.
Evelyn, if